lights inside the arena burned bright, casting long shadows across the squared circle as thousands of eyes focused on the ring where history was about to unfold. The atmosphere carried that unmistakable electricity only boxing can produce. The hum of anticipation, the murmur of fans debating outcomes, the distant echo of music reverberating through the hall. This was not just another fight night. This was a championship moment. At stake was the professional light heavyweight world title, and two young fighters, both only 25 years of age, were stepping forward to chase greatness. On one side stood the Belgian challenger Lee Ingelrest, undefeated and hungry, arriving with the confidence of a national champion. On the other side was the Belarusian contender, Aliaksei Alfiorau, a decorated amateur star whose silver medals on the world stage had already announced his talent to the boxing world. The tension grew thicker with every passing moment as officials gathered ringside and dignitaries watched from the front rows. National anthems echoed through the arena, first for Belgium, then for Belarus, and as the final notes faded, the crowd erupted into applause. Both fighters stood still, absorbing the moment. Ingelrest had never fought outside his homeland before. Tonight he was stepping into hostile territory, into a lion's den filled with Belarusian supporters. Alfiorau meanwhile looked calm and composed, the expression on his face betraying no emotion. For him this was more than a title opportunity. It was a chance to prove that his amateur pedigree could translate into dominance in the professional arena. The belts gleamed under the lights, the referee called the fighters to center ring, and with a final set of instructions, the stage was set. 10 rounds stood between these two men and immortality, and as the bell rang for the opening round, the journey toward the championship began. From the very first seconds it became clear that Aliaksei Alfiorau intended to control the fight. Operating from a slick southpaw stance he began probing with a sharp, accurate jab that cut through the air like a blade. Lee Ingelrest, tall and athletic, tried to establish his own rhythm, but the Belarusian's timing disrupted every attempt. Alfiorau's punches arrived with surgical precision, straight lefts snapping toward the head, jabs darting toward the body, each strike delivered with the calm confidence of a seasoned technician. The crowd responded with growing excitement as their hometown fighter began to dictate the tempo. Ingelrest was not intimidated. He continued to press forward, trying to establish distance and find his own openings. But the early exchanges revealed a difference in experience and ringcraft. Alfiorau moved smoothly around the ring, stepping in and out of range with calculated efficiency. One crisp right jab landed cleanly, and instantly began swelling the challenger's right eye, a small sign of the storm that was coming. The Belarusian's punches flowed effortlessly, jab, cross, body shot, then a quick pivot away before a counter could arrive. Ingelrest attempted to answer with his own straight punches, but they lacked the sharpness and speed of his opponent's attacks. By the midpoint of the round, Alfiorau had already established command of the battlefield. His left hand pierced the guard repeatedly, and his ability to switch angles made it difficult for the Belgian champion to find a rhythm. The crowd could sense the momentum building. Every accurate shot from Alfiorau drew louder cheers, while Ingelrest found himself forced into survival mode earlier than he expected. When the bell ended the first round, it was clear who had made the stronger statement. Round 2 began with an intensity that immediately raised the stakes. Alfiorau stepped forward with renewed confidence, sensing that his opponent was already feeling the pressure. The Belarusian's jab once again spearheaded the attack, snapping into Ingelrest's guard before sliding down to the body. Then came the first dramatic turning point of the fight. A vicious left hand dug deep into the challenger's midsection, landing just beneath the ribs. The impact forced the air from Ingelrest's lungs, and moments later he dropped to one knee. The crowd roared as the referee began the count. Ingelrest rose bravely, determined not to surrender, but Alfiorau smelled vulnerability and pressed forward immediately. Body shots began raining in with ruthless consistency, hooks, crosses, and uppercuts all targeting the same vulnerable area. Another crushing blow landed on the solar plexus, sending the Belgian fighter to the canvas for the second time. The pattern was unmistakable. Alfiorau was dismantling his opponent with calculated brutality. Each strike to the body drained Ingelrest's energy, forcing him to shorten his stance and slow his movement. The Belarusian fighter showed remarkable patience, never rushing, simply picking his shots with precision and accuracy. Even when the challenger tried to fire back, Alfiorau slipped the punches and returned fire with devastating counters. The bell finally ended the round, but the damage had already been done. 2 knockdowns in a single round had completely shifted the momentum of the contest. Ingelrest walked slowly back to his corner, breathing heavily, while Alfiorau remained calm, his expression unchanged. The fight had entered dangerous territory, and everyone watching wondered how much punishment the Belgian could still endure. If round 2 had shaken the challenger, round 3 nearly broke him. Alfiorau came out with the same relentless focus, once again targeting the body with merciless precision. The Belarusian stalked forward like a hunter tracking wounded prey, cutting off the ring and forcing Ingelrest toward the ropes. A powerful hook to the body landed flush, and once again the Belgian fighter collapsed to the canvas. The crowd erupted as the referee counted another knockdown. But astonishingly, Ingelrest rose again, refusing to surrender despite the punishment he had endured. The fight resumed, yet Alfiorau showed no sign of mercy. Another crushing body shot landed moments later, dropping the challenger for the 4th time in the fight. Each time Ingelrest stood up, the determination in his eyes remained, but the damage was undeniable. Alfiorau's punches were landing with frightening accuracy, and his confidence grew with every exchange. Near the end of the round, another thunderous blow slammed into the body, sending Ingelrest down yet again. His 5th trip to the canvas. At that moment, many observers believed the fight would soon be stopped. The Belarusian fighter appeared unstoppable, while the challenger looked physically drained, yet somehow the bell rang before the finishing blow could arrive. Ingelrest staggered back to his corner, battered but unbroken. Alfiorau, meanwhile, walked calmly to his stool, his dominance undeniable. 3 rounds into the fight, The scorecards were already heavily tilted in his favor, and the question lingering in the arena was no longer who was winning, it was how much longer the challenger could survive. As the middle rounds unfolded, the narrative of the fight began to change in an unexpected way. Alfiorau had inflicted enormous damage during the early stages, but Lee Ingelrest displayed a level of resilience that few could have predicted. Despite being knocked down 5 times, the Belgian fighter refused to collapse. Round after round, he rose from his stool, stepping forward once again to face the storm. Alfiorau continued to dominate the exchanges, landing clean jabs and thudding body shots, but he also began to show a more measured approach. Instead of chasing a knockout recklessly, the Belarusian boxer controlled the pace, choosing his moments carefully. Ingelrest, meanwhile, adopted a strategy of persistence. Whenever Alfiorau slowed down, the challenger pressed forward, attempting to apply pressure and force exchanges. His punches rarely landed cleanly, but his determination earned respect from the crowd. This phase of the fight became a test of endurance rather than pure power. Alfiorau's superior technique remained evident, his counters sharp, his footwork smooth, but Ingelrest's toughness kept him in the contest. Each time the Belgian fighter absorbed another punishing body shot, he clenched his teeth and pushed forward again. For Alfiorau, it was both impressive and frustrating. He had dropped his opponent repeatedly, yet the man refused to stay down. The crowd began to appreciate the drama of the moment. What had started as a potential early stoppage was evolving into a remarkable display of grit and heart. The challenger might have been losing on the scorecards, but his refusal to surrender added a new layer of respect to the battle unfolding in the ring. By the time the fight entered the later rounds, the dynamic between the two fighters had become clear. Alfiorau remained the master of the ring, dictating distance with his jab and unleashing sharp combinations whenever he chose to attack. His punches continued to target the body, exploiting the same weakness that had produced so many knockdowns earlier in the fight. Ingelrest, however, had adapted to the punishment. Though clearly exhausted, he managed to stay on his feet, using movement and occasional counters to survive. Every now and then he stepped forward aggressively, attempting to surprise the Belarusian with a sudden burst of offense. The crowd admired his bravery, but the effectiveness of those attacks was limited. Alfiorau's defensive awareness and ring IQ prevented the challenger from gaining real momentum. Instead, the Belarusian calmly resumed control each time, firing crisp jabs and well-placed crosses that snapped Ingelrest's head backward. The rhythm of the fight had settled into a pattern, the champion in waiting delivering precise, punishing strikes, and the challenger absorbing them with extraordinary determination. For Alfiorau, the objective had shifted from seeking a quick finish to delivering a complete performance. His composure never wavered, and his expression remained calm, even as the rounds accumulated. Ingelrest, meanwhile, became a symbol of endurance. His right eye was swollen, his body battered, yet he continued marching forward whenever the opportunity arose. It was no longer just a contest of skill. It had become a demonstration of heart, and both fighters were earning the respect of everyone watching. As the 9th round arrived, the arena buzzed with disbelief. Few people had expected the fight to reach this stage after the brutal early rounds. Alfiorau continued to dominate, his punches landing with the same precision that had defined the contest from the opening bell. Yet the Belgian challenger still stood, still fighting, still searching for an opportunity that might change the outcome. Every jab from Alfiorau snapped through the air like a whip, and every body shot echoed with the dull thud of leather striking muscle. Ingelrest responded with courage, stepping forward again and again, even though the odds were clearly against him. The final round arrived with a respectful touch of gloves between the two fighters. Alfiorau surged forward one last time, unleashing a series of sharp combinations that reminded everyone of his superiority throughout the contest. Jabs, crosses, and uppercuts flowed together in smooth sequences as he closed the fight with authority. Ingelrest absorbed the punishment and kept moving, determined to hear the final bell. When it finally rang, both fighters stepped back, exhausted yet respectful. The crowd rose to its feet, applauding the effort of both men, one for his brilliance, the other for his courage. It had been a dramatic journey from the first bell to the last. The fighters returned to the center of the ring as the announcer prepared to deliver the official verdict. Alfiorau stood calmly, already confident in the outcome after 10 rounds of near complete dominance. Ingelrest, bruised and battered but still proud, waited beside him. When the scorecards were read, the decision was unanimous. Aliaksei Alfiorau was declared the winner and the new professional light heavyweight world champion. The crowd erupted as the Belarusian raised his arms in victory, the championship belt finally placed around his waist. It was a triumph built on precision, discipline, and relentless body punching that had dismantled his opponent over the course of the fight. Yet the night also belonged in part to Lee Ingelrest. Despite being knocked down 5 times and battered by countless body shots, he had refused to surrender, surviving all 10 rounds in a display of remarkable toughness. As the two fighters embraced in the center of the ring, respect replaced rivalry. Alfiorau had proven his championship quality, showcasing the skill and composure that had made him one of the brightest talents in the division. Ingelrest had proven something equally important, that heart and determination can endure even the most punishing battles. Under the bright lights of the arena, a new champion had been crowned, and the story of this unforgettable fight was etched into the history of the sport.